Awesome, cool. Yeah, so yeah, this is the week 5. This Friday evening in Japan time. It's gonna be quite early morning in San Francisco. We do have a midterm presentation. Oh, sorry, midterm pitch. So we talked about what's like a format and how we can pitch, and then it's very difficult to just generalize ideas. So like this week, if you guys want to talk about it, we can go through your pitch when we have a mentorship, and then past 4 weeks we have validated idea, talk to few users, and then you started to build the product, right? And next things is a distribution side. And then question could be how you can acquire users too, right? That's going to be week 5's go-to-market strategy, right? That's actually one of my favorite topic. And then simple question, right? How to get your first user. And then back to the previous slide about validating your idea. So when we list up the type of the problems, first of all, one, solving your own problem. Second about solving other people's problem. Somebody who has a problem. Last one is a trendy problem too, right? It's kind of like a combination, I feel, for the companies so far. And then if you want to deep dive this question slightly deeper, and then you need to think about if you're solving your own problem, where you stay, what type of application you use when you face this problem too, right? For example, when Jack, you travel to other countries, I'm pretty sure you look at information like a TripAdvisor, even probably Facebook or Instagram, where you stay, right? And these are the right application that you can basically reach out to your potential customers, users too, right? Maybe same as the Green Book too, right? I remember you guys already list up the Facebook group, so people exchange a lot of information, and then Namaste.ai is very similar to it, because yoga communities maybe they reach out to they discuss to how they can improve yoga and stuff on Instagram. So anywhere they are staying at right now, and then anyhow they interact with other people, these were the channels for you guys. So you already have idea, but thing is it's kind of a time that you can start to list up, right? And then second one is to solve other people's problem. It's the same question. Think about where these people are and ask them, right? That's you kind of have done user interviews so far. And then trendy problem. And it is slightly challenging. I think a trendy problem is more kind of how you can bring a formula and stuff too, right? And then everybody we are using even Zoom, we are even using Slack, but any of the application, any of the tech company, everyone they started from 0 users, right? We kind of take granted, yes, Facebook, it's been a while, but actually, it's been 11 or 12 years. It's one of the fastest company. They reach out to $1 trillion valuation. But even Facebook, they started from Harvard, right? So everyone started from 0 users. And then key success of the startup is actually not only for building the product, you also need to find the distribution of your product too. So that's the kind of foundation of this topic too, right? And then to do so, I wanted to explain the kind of key a basic component of the how you can think about the marketing side, also sales activities. So the funnel too, right? So literally a funnel is an object that has a wide run opening at the top, sloping slide, and narrow tube at the bottom, and used for pouring liquid or powders into containers with narrow necks, right? That's basically basically the definition from somewhere like a Wikipedia or a Cambridge. But the thing is that if you think about your users, right? Anywhere they're gonna start from on top of that, and then you want to make sure they are going to convert something, right? Either it could be users, it could be customers, right? Anything. So you cannot just make them users. So there's a few steps too, right? And then when you think about it, you need to think about how you can reduce these a funnel as less as possible, right? And then how you can increase each these conversion rate of the funnels too, right? If there are 3 steps, you can think about how you can increase these conversion rate, right? I'm going to explain a little bit more. And then before that, I wanted to explain one fundamental theory. I really like it. So this is the kind of it's called like a pirate metrics because it's like a pirate. It's like, right. It's kind of like a funny joke. But thing is that it was invented in like 1992 or 2007. I'm not sure like which year it was, but thing is by Dave McGrath. He's like ex-founder of 500 Startup. Also, he was the head of the marketing of PayPal. So he's considered as the one of the PayPal mafia. And then this funnel is very, very useful for sales activity and marketing to have actual metrics go for your startups, right? So any of the huge company, they do have a product like this, like a funnel, even like a product, sales and marketing. The company become bigger, each like, the team, they do have like a much like a bigger like a funnel approach. But overall, any type of like startup, they do have like these like a funnels too, right? And then if you're gonna think about what's like an AARR stand for, there are like 6 like breakdowns too, right? First one is on top of the funnel, that's awareness. And then basically get more views and visitors for your acquisition channels, right? That's, for example, like a media activity and stuff too, right? That's like we're gonna explain the example later, but things that's like bringing awareness too, right? Even like if you increase number of the views and visitors for your service, doesn't mean that's gonna directly like indirectly it's gonna increase the revenue, but doesn't mean it's directly increasing the revenue, right? Because they're like still like a few steps too, right? Kind of like people like usually confuse like, hey, we do like a decent stuff, but thing is you need to think about like which KPI you want to increase. You want to increase awareness, or you want to increase acquisition, or like are you trying to increase like users activation too, right? That's I'm gonna explain. And then second one is the acquisition part. The main like conversion is the get lead or potential like a prospect for increasing user and customers too, right? But that's like indirect. You basically have to increase the pie of the number of the users who's just gonna start to use product, right? But thing is, even like if you get the lead, doesn't mean 100 of them they're gonna start to use product, because usually when you sign up the product, basically people stop like writing their information too, right? That's basically activation part. So when you acquire users, you want to make sure that's these people registered users from like acquisition channel. You want to make sure these people is going to be like activated too, right? So acquire users, and then retention rate is like engaged users time and more, and referral is like a spread users love to bring more users. So once people started to like your product, users started to like your product, they do have like a high retention rate, and then basically they can start to invite other people as a evangelist too, right? And then some point, basically they're gonna pay and make money, right? And then that's basically revenue. So that's like this one is the kind of like a key component of your product, and then that's basically equation of your growth metrics too. That's we're gonna talk about actually like next week. But thing is, this one you can think about when you make the go-to-market strategy. And then again, this one is the kind of like, the things that you are trying to get from users. One is basically when you try to increase awareness, basically getting the potential users or customers' attention, interest too, right? Because they are interested. Because they are interested. Therefore, you need to make your contents or things that makes people very interested. Or like these contents is interesting contents for them too, right? And acquisition is getting the information. Activation is basically getting time and info. Retention is usually like getting their time more, and referral is more like they getting their social capital, because they are the one they are putting your own name to promote your service, right? That's like a slightly different. And revenue is a series, it's just like a capital too, right? And then this is just like an example. Let's say your service has like 100,000 views per month, right? And then these like 100,000 views, and then 100,000 like views or unique views, and these like viewers gonna move. They're gonna click your landing page, right? In that case, likely let's say like you have like 10,000 registered users, so people just like type in the information, sign up too, right? From like 100,000 like views, right? And then from 10,000 like registered users doesn't mean everyone is gonna start to use your product. So you want to make sure these like 10,000 users, you want to like increase the activation rate too, right? So let's say if like 1,000 of like the people from 10,000 registered users, they become 1,000 activated users, basically conversion rate is like 10%, right? And then from like 1,000 activated users, 100 of them they use every month. Once a month, that's you can say my our users like MOU is 100, like 100 users like MOUs, right? 100 like MOU. Or like if they use daily base, in that case, 100 DAU, right? If they use like a weekly base every week, in that case, 100 like a weekly wow, it's like a weekly active users. And then let's say 100 of like a monthly active users, 10 of them they use every single day, right? And then they start to refer to people. In that case, like 10 users become basically evangelists of product, right? Each one is considered as a power users, right? And then out of like 10, one customer or users, they start to pay your service, right? So this one is just an example, but thing is when you do any type of like campaign for sales, marketing, product, we're gonna have like example later, but you need to think about which one you are trying to improve. Essentially, you want to improve everything, but the company usually has a limited resource. So you need to think about this campaign, which one we are trying to do, right? Now, doing like this channel, which one we are trying to do. Because posting like a Facebook doesn't increase like a revenue, right? That's usually increase more like awareness or acquisition, right? Even like it doesn't increase the activation rate, And then when people like sign up your product, when you send it to email, when you send it to like a direct message to them, that's the activation campaign too, right? So any type of again, the campaign, you need to think about which funnel, which number you want to like increase to, right? So far, any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Rhythm.
Yeah, so as I understand, the R funnel is kind of a user journey from. So for us, the teams currently who are at very early stage, how would you like us to focus on certain stage? Like, should we focus on retention first, or like, what would you recommend us, like, where to
Yeah,
focus more?
so yeah, that's like a great question. For the very early stage companies, even like pre-product market fit. So I consider you guys more like a solution user fit too, right? Your product works for like a solving users like problem, right? So in that case, my suggestion is like increase the don't worry about like awareness side, because if you start to build a brand, it's kind of like a very long-term marketing strategy. So usually it's not good fit for it's not like a good marketing strategy for the early stage company. My suggestion is just like increase activation and retention as much as possible, because even like if you acquire like 10 users and 10 of them they do have like a very strong retention rate, you can basically make how you can make like a referral, and then how they can start like how you can start to charge from them. So I don't worry about any of like marketing and the sales side, but thing is that's like probably you need to find out which one has like a strongest channel for you. So like you don't need to do any of like a Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Reddit, like a Pinterest. If you do a lot of channel, of course it's gonna take more resource too, right? So you need to think about which one has the like a strongest, which one is like a strongest channel for you guys. That's probably like one thing you need to like find out, especially for like awareness and acquisition chart, and also even like including activation too, right? Because maybe like getting, let's say like Twitter, LinkedIn, like a Facebook too, right? Let's say like you're building a consumer business. Each of the channel you get like a 10 users each, right? In that case, you have like 30 registered users, right? But somehow people from Twitter, they didn't have a much higher conversion rate, right? Of course, you can put like a more amount in order to make them like activated. But thing is, at this moment, trying to find out which one has the right channel for you to acquire the people who are more interested in your product. That's more like a segmentation issue with the like a channel. The thing is like once you find out, you kind of like know who's gonna be like a power users, and then you just need to focus on like a power users. Even like you acquire like let's say like 1,000 users, and then just 50 people, they become like a super active users, right? In that case, my suggestion is you should just focus on like a 50 people as much as possible. And then don't worry about like, of course, like you need to talk to like a 90 rest of like a 950 people if you have any extra resource. But priority should be just make like a 50 people happy as much as possible. Of course, there must be the reason why the rest of like 950 people, they stop using your product. But thing is, at this moment, in order to build a business, just focusing like a power users. In order to find the power users, you need to think about which channel and target audience you can acquire. This one, like how to acquire the power users and then who's going to be power users. That's like a main focus should be for the early stage company. Even like a pre-product market fit company for the startup, I would suggest like they should have done this. I would suggest that they should do it in that one. And many of the companies, they started to started to care about like a branding, etc., etc. But thing is for example, if you are not building a D2C company, if your service is, for example, like a branding service, actually, honestly speaking, it is important, but things I wouldn't emphasize that's the top priority of your product too, right? More like a building the very like a sticky product and then finding the power users. That's like a most important to achieve the product market fit. And then that's like usually for the up to like a Series A companies, that's usually company, many of the companies, they actually like struggle too, right? Even they raise 100 million companies, doesn't mean they're going to be actually like successful too. So we can take one more question if anyone has a question. Okay. Oh, Jack is okay. Asman, you okay? All right, cool. And then here is an example of the each campaigns too, right? For example, in order to increase awareness, type of the campaign that you guys can do is, for example, social media marketing, posting or sharing stuff on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest. You can name it any of the channels too, right? But these like a posting and stuff, basically the main KPI you're trying to get is like increasing awareness, means number of the views, right? Right. And then paid ads, maybe you can do like a LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Google ads. The thing is, my suggestion is I wouldn't recommend early stage, especially like in a pre-launch company, you guys should do it because when the company, they wanted to like a paid ads, they wanted to know how much it's going to be CAC. CAC stand for like how much is going to be customer acquisition cost too, right? Each channel has a different like customer acquisition cost. Each targeting and content is going to gives like a different type of like customer acquisition cost too, right? But to do so, ideally, when you start to make money, right? When your user and the customer they start to pay you, that's the right time to do it. But thing is, if you just wanted to test how much it's going to be like cut, you can start to do it. The reason why I wouldn't recommend early stage companies before they start to make money, they shouldn't like focusing on like putting a lot like a paid ads. One, usually customer acquisition cost is like let's say like $5, right? And then if users don't make money, unit economy means like how much you can make money per customers, right? It's actually negative because you're paying to acquire customers $5 and they don't pay any money. Means if you acquire more customers, if you do more marketing, basically you're burning your cash too, right? And then this theory actually it works for like even the company who have the paid customers too. Let's say like CAC is like $10, and then paid customer they just pay you $5, right? It means each time when you try to acquire users, you pay $10, and then after you acquire them, these customers they're gonna pay you $5. It's still margin is negative too, right? So that's why many of the like even like big companies they raise tons of money in order to like for them in order to grow the companies much faster. They spend tons of money for the marketing basically, right? They just increase like a paid ads like a budget as much as possible. The thing is, if they are going to like start to optimize these like from $5, it's gonna be $4, it's gonna be $3, it's gonna be $2. In the end, if like companies, like these company instead of they are paying like $5, they're gonna start to like pay $10. That's more like a product team's like effort, or like instead of like you are paying like $10, actually you just pay like $5 right now because you are optimizing each campaign too, right? If you can see like this type of like improvement, that works too. But to do so, you just need to have tons of like budget too, right? But it's not the realistic situation for the early stage companies. So that's why I wouldn't recommend early stage companies. You guys need to do a lot of stuff for the paid ad because in the end, if you just like raise money or if you're putting your own money, usually realistically speaking, you do not have a budget, tons of budget to do like a paid ads, right? And then question could be like, what you want to test it too, right? And then website SEO is good, but thing is this one is like more like you need to increase some of like contents dedicated to your product, right? Therefore, it's again very like a long term like a strategy. And then start up like a local media. If you're like tied into like startup founders or companies, maybe like Hacker News and Product Hunt could be good. And then branding, speak at the conference and event, that could be good because you already target to like the people too, right? But thing is, usually become speaker is another kind of the challenge because like people already know who you are, right? So usually this could be like challenging for like early stage, like first time founders. And then media coverage, this is kind of like a little bit similar too because like you are like building very unique things and people already like acknowledge the things you're building is very unique. Therefore, media want to write about you, right? So usually it doesn't happen for the very early stage company for the first time like a startup founder. And press release, product launch, partnership, and new feature. If you're good at writing, probably this could be like a one way to do it. Especially this one could be good for like getting the enterprise sales activity. So for example, Sundae's case too, right? If there is a specific PR and stuff for like a tourism or hospitality or like how to spend like a vacation and stuff too, right? If you're good at writing, maybe like you just can write it and send it to like these people too, right? Because maybe like these people, industry, like savvy, they wanted to know like what's going on like to like a specific industry and the specific the place for the vacation too, right? Maybe this one is usually good at for like a sales, like enterprise sales, to increase the leads. And then last one is a content marketing, blog, video, and podcast. Again, which one you are good at? Again, like back to like the previous question, where users are and then where your customers are at this moment. And then you need to think about which one you are good at and which one is the best option for you guys, right? That's you need to think about in order to increase awareness. But things again, increase awareness is very like a long-term like things, and then also it's like an indirect marketing campaign. So like my suggestion is usually like think about how you can like acquire users as much as possible too, right? And then next one is the acquisition. For example, organizing event or a joint event or like even like a webinar and stuff too. Maybe like like a Namaste, you guys can start like a yoga session too, right? On like an event brand, right? And then these people already interested to learn how to do yoga, right? So like that's why we talked about like in probably week 2, like a founders market fit. For example, if Reason has like a yoga license, if you start to build a product, instead of like you asking other yoga instructor to join this session, you just can teach them, and this audience are already like a potential users, and they already show the interest for learning yoga too, right? And the question could be how to scale it. That's why you build a product, right? That's kind of like more like a direct to do it. Another one is like Stan Davis, like you guys can do the like the webinar session for like hotels owners, how you can increase like marketing, right? How you can do like a social media branding and stuff too, right? So instead of like you like hire influencer, you're the one who started to build a knowledge, also direct connection to your potential user and customers. That could be good. Greenbook could be like a similar to like we organize like a session, and then you invite like a famous gardening designer, and then people just wanted to know, right? The things, right? That's like basically the value or benefit that you wanted to provide through Greenbook too, right? So either you could do it, that's your own event. Another one is you can invite other people, or you could even join that too. I usually like the event because it's more like a direct, and then also like you just can get the like a direct connection with your user and customers. It's like a much faster. But thing is the organizing an event is another like skills, and that's like if somebody's good at, this is my suggestion. One of the suggestion too. Another one is a create group and build a community too. You have a Facebook group, LinkedIn group, Meetup, and stuff too. That's also I enjoy doing that too, because even like if let's say like I build like a community for the startup founders too, right? And maybe like a reason must be in the question, I answer something. This is like an answer could be used for example, Jack, Asma, like a Typho, and then like a quota too, right? In that case, usually when you do like a customer support, that's going to be like a one-way interaction. But having a group and community is like this interaction also could be useful for other people too, right? Even like a rhythm could be like happy, and the rhythm can be like helpful to other people too, right? But that's why it's like a faster to grow the like the user base if you are good at, right? Another one is like direct outbound sales. That's probably like one like a highly suggestion for Stan Davis, I guess. When I worked for like the marketplace for the tourism tour, like I literally went through like a TripAdvisor and Yelp. So that's kind of like I found it like how I can find it, and then started to like list up like a website. And I noticed that each website has like a specific organization name. That's like in Japan was like Japan Tourism something. And then when I checked like an organization name, actually this organization has a list of the tour guides. So that's kind of like I found like extra like 300 like tour guides in Japan too. So usually that's like that it doesn't scale it, but thing is in order to know where they are right now, you just need to do something that doesn't scale at the beginning too, right? And then another one is to get intro from other friends and family or colleagues. You're building something, for example, like LinkedIn stuff too. Another one is email newsletter too, useful information for subscribers. The thing is, the email newsletter again, it's gonna like take slightly time. So it's more like top part, organize an event and create group and direct like outbound sales. I want like get like an intro from like the people. That's like also we discussed for the green book. Maybe you can reach out to like admin for like the Facebook group who really likes like a plans, or like or maybe you can get intro from them too, right? This one doesn't scale it, but thing is, in order to acquire customers, you just need to do something that doesn't scale it too, right? Activation, once you know where you can get users and then they come to your website, they sign up, right? And then how you can make them activated, right? It's not just sign up, how you can make them start to use your product, right? That's the activation part. Usually it's coming from the like product experience or like a customer support, like a type of like two activities mainly in order to increase like activation rate. One is like an email, welcome email. Hey, like thanks for signing up. This is the way how you can use it, right? These are things like you can check like a video, right? And then onboarding process and use case for the new users. And then another one is the registered users, email up by email, product update or news. Hey, this is a new feature, like check this out, right? That's like probably, it could be like interesting for them to start to use it again. And then customer support, you want to make sure, probably, many of the companies at this moment, if you sign up a new product, there's like a Zendesk, like, chat bubble. Hey, thanks for signing up, Reason. Let me know if you have any question. Here are the things like, first user, they start to do it. It's kind of like a bullet point too. That's kind of like another one. That's how you can increase like a customer support too. For us, we didn't have it for the Foxy. So I was basically literally doing that one. Like when I was awake, because rest of like a 3 engineer, they can build a product too, right? But that could be also like a kind of like useful too. And then at that one, once users started to become activated user, and question could be how you can increase your retention, right? Because you don't want to build a product, people just use once, they're just gonna leave, right? You want to make sure they use like a one, twice, 3 times, 4 times, like more times too, right? So question could be how you can increase retention rate, right? And then it is like similar to, the thing is I can send a notification to users, something user wanting to receive, right? For example, like likes, views, reminder, and update too, right? Probably you can get very like a similar type of like update on like any of like a consumer service too, right? Hey, somebody likes your post on Instagram, right? For example, but that's for example like a TikTok is better than other services because like instead of Instagram is usually highlight like a hyper influencer side, but things like a TikTok's algorithm, they just spread the views to normal average people, and then they feel kind of like, oh, I become like an influencer, so my like a post get at least 100 views and stuff too, right? That's kind of like they have like a unique algorithm. I think other company they started to do it too. Another one is again like email. You can send it to like a product update and news to activated users. Adding a new feature, that's also another like a product effort. That's you can increase the users retention rate more. And then must have a survey and a user interview. That's you can do like a customer support, and then check data to understand users type of action and usage. That's you can do it, but thing is I wouldn't suggest because at the beginning of like early stage companies, you do not have enough data. So just making a decision by limited number of the data, that's slightly challenging. Also, you do not have enough data point to do it too, right? So if you wanted to think about how, if you wanted to decide what you're going to build next, right? By getting the feedback from power users, I highly suggest talking to users and getting a must-have survey from them, right? And just focusing on getting the feedback from the power users, and then you're just going to build it for them, right? And then, yeah, once we started to increase 500,000 users, we do have enough data points. So that's we started to hire one data scientist. So that's we have done a qualitative and quantitative approach. I was facing to a customer side, and then talk to 100 of them. Another guy is basically doing the analytics side, and then which one works for them or not, right? And then last one is a referral and revenue. For example, in order to increase a referral, adding an invitation feature too. So for example, this could be quite good for the Greenbook, because you guys wanted to build a social network service too, right? So something maybe, I don't know, AI advisor, if I take my cactus a picture, and then by using Greenbook, yeah, if I get the advice from the Greenbook, maybe these screenshot, and could be useful or interesting contents to invite other people through my network who may also a cactus and other plants too, right? That's usually for example a contents marketing on the different platform too. And another one is other recommendation. Recommend content to other users. For example, that's we did it too. Instead of Foxy recommend other people, basically user can also become a Foxy too. So they make the hey, this person could be interesting for you. Maybe you should chat, right? So that's we did it. For example, Tinder has it too. And then a must have a survey and other payment by using a landing page. That's also this one is more increasing revenue side. But thing is, before you are building product, you already show benefit and then the concept of your product, and then user can sign up. They just can put it to your payment too, right? It's not necessarily that you get paid, but you can prove it. That's somebody who wanted to pay your service too, right? That's, for example, any of a crowdfunding. It's basically the same idea too, right? Yeah, they are doing the same stuff too, right? Sorry. And then get their payment information. This is similar, and then improve conversion rate from non-paid users to paid users. That's you can think about more a cohort analysis, what type of users who has very a strong retention. That's a cohort, and then you can make sure what's the same characteristic of these users too, right? Maybe gender wise, it could be age, it could be a city too, right? It could be the size of business for the Sun Davis. It could be the level of the yoga. Maybe more intermediate people could be interested for Namaste.ai, right? This one you can see what type of a cohort could have a high retention for your product too, right? And then again, my suggestion is just focusing power users as much as possible, because the thing is you do have a limited resource too, right? And then I'm just gonna show you some of the example that's I did it for my company. So product hunt too, right? So we launched the product hunt, and then probably I shouldn't have done it, but thing is that we built a 300 Twitter bot. So we made basically 300 fake product hunt account, right? And then how product hunt works, I'm not sure right now, but things back a few years is one, even if I posted something or if you guys posted something, it's not gonna be a main product of the day, because in order your product get highlighted, somebody who's going to post your product, they need to be proved or hunter of the product hunt. Means they already have a social filter too, right? And then our case was, once we started to get featured by media, I reached out to the hunter, and then I say, hey, I think you might be interested on a chatbot, or you are working on a chatbot. We build a cool stuff. Do you mind checking out? And then we wanted to launch a product hunt next week. Do you mind posting and stuff? And then he said, yeah, I like it. It's a Chris Messina. He's a basically inventor of the hashtag on the Twitter. And then he did it, right? That's at least we're gonna get a feature by the product of the day too, right? And the question could be how much upvote you can get. And then our idea was basically we make the 100 of the fake Twitter account, and also by using that we can create the fake like a product account too, right? And then once we post it, I asked like people too. Another one is the one the engineer, he started to post it, right? Even like we changed like IP address, but after that probably we got in like a 200 of like upload. Probably their system noticed there is some kind of funny things is going on. They started to remove all like uploaded. That's like we did it because probably they noticed we made like fake account too, right? So that's it worked for us, but thing is, some point it worked, but thing is, like, at some point it didn't work. So I didn't suggest that you guys can do it. You guys should do it. But thing is, my suggestion is to do if you want to do like a product hunt, like the posting campaign. I do know like somebody who's like a hunter. So ask me first, and I can send the information to them. And at least your product, if they are interested in posting and stuff, they can like post it, and then at least you guys can get highlight and upload it and stuff too, right? That's like how like a product hunt works too. But things like usually product hunt is good at for the tech people, tech savvy. So if you're like building some kind of developer tool, could be good, but if you're building something like different for like a specific industry and stuff too, I'm not sure like how many like the sign up you can get it from there, right? And then second one is like this one could be like probably my suggestion for the actually any of the companies this year, because you are more building a product for like a consumer stuff too, right? So before I become like a VCs, I used to have like startup communities called like a workforce. That's I started to do it when I came back to like Japan, Tokyo, and I started to build kind of like started with like a product, right? And I didn't have a clear product idea. I was like I wanted to build either AngelList in Asia or Glassdoor for the VCs, right? That's kind of like I started to do it, but things like to do so, like I started to think about like what can I do like today, and then I started to organize an event, and then these like a startup community could be basically ideal customer for my service in the future too, right? So the things I did was basically I started to like organize an event, and then started to build a Facebook group, and then this one is basically like a list of the Facebook group. So when we organize event, I posted literally like a 30 Facebook group each time, right? Sometimes like of course like admin they say, oh, like you're posting too much, so I couldn't get it. But thing is within like 90 days we organized 36 events. It's a lot of events. Basically I organize 3 events every week almost, and then we didn't spend any money on the Facebook ads, right? But thing is we got over like a 60,000 views. This is a unique views, right? Number of the people who reach out by posting like a stuff too, right? And then event response by out of like a 60,000 impression, one like a 1,600 people, they click event response, right? Either like they say interested, or like they show some kind of interest too, right? And then we basically sold 860 tickets out of 60,000 views, right? Because we are just like an organizing event, right, back then. So this one, for example, like if you start to list up a bunch of like a Facebook you need to be active too, and then you need to have like a bunch of the Facebook connection. The good thing is I do have like an over like a 3,000 Facebook connection, and I use like a Facebook mainly for business. So kind of like, for me, it's not the it is more similar to like a LinkedIn, but thing is that was helpful for us because we didn't have any like budget. And then some point once we started to organize event, we noticed this event could make money more. And then we increased the volume of the audience. We started to like a Facebook ads because we know how much we can get paid, right? That's like back to like the same theory. And then the question could be how we can increase the number of customers, right? We don't have an extra budget. We know how much they're gonna pay. Therefore, like we try to increase like number of like acquisition as much as possible. That's we started to do like a paid marketing on Facebook here. So, right. And then media coverage. So for example, like I got selected top kind of industry influencer by Forbes for like a chatbot in 2017 or 2018. So this one, I use it for showing like these Forbes media coverage and then targeting to other media people on the Facebook. Because the good things about like a Facebook ads, right? You can do like extra targeting, right? And then if you saw like a name of the Forbes, this is already like a legit, right? The contents wise. So basically we try to get extra like a coverage by other media. So that's kind of like we got it. the few local media coverage as well. That actually that works for like a Facebook like a page ad. If you have any question, I'm happy to like help you for like a Facebook like campaign as well. But things that media coverage, how we started to get it was the one before we become like industry influencers. The one the highlight for us is like 2016 when people started to talk about like a chatbot and bot. Luckily, we become like one of like the most popular consumer chatbot by VentureBeat. That was kind of like the hackathon, like kind of like a competition, and then we got the like 354 bots, and then we become like one of the like most famous one. And then after that, this one like by using this like media coverage, I reach out to hey, like this one like we built and found out like Foxy, I like to talk to you, right? So the media coverage is basically you can show the social proof by media company, and then by using that, you can also reach out to the other media people too, right? Because usually, again, nobody wanting to be the first person who's going to write your stuff somehow. And then by showing the other people who already write about you, they think they feel more comfortable to write it. Usually, journalists is like a slightly different. The thing is just like getting the media coverage too, right? People wanting to like write about something, it's more like decent, and the kind of like decent interest people can get. Even like we shut down like a service like 3 years ago, but things still people like signing up to like a Facebook like the message, and then we still like get the message about the our service in Foxy. I actually need to like shut down the Foxy too on the Facebook page side. And then another one is like a platform distribution. For us, as we build a service on the messaging platform, one of the like, key things we started to do was we access to early API to Viber. I'm not sure if you guys use it or like know this messaging apps. It's like it was like probably after Skype, Viber became famous in 2017 or 18. Rakuten, that's like Japanese Amazon, they acquire Viber around like 900 million. I think it's basically messaging apps too, right? And then they started to build a new platform like a Facebook and WeChat or Line. And they started to do it. And then we built the feature for them, and we presented, hey, our like service is very popular for like a Facebook and Kik and different like a platform. But thing is, we are happy to build just one for you and give us the like early access to API, and we are happy to modify our product design to your platform too, right? And then once we started to work with very closely with a developer team or like the head of like a partnerships, and then we build one like a top app on their platform, and then each like a messaging apps like back then they do have like platform like App Store, like Google Android store too, right? And then basically we got the feature by like their platform, and then that's like we got like tons of the users too. That may work too, like you guys are building something like interesting for like apps and stuff too, right? And last one is like a YouTube. We have this like we did it for the like two things. One is we build like a service video for the YouTube, and then we reach out to like the users who sign up too, right? And then in order to we try to increase the activation rate. Hey, these were like users. We notice you sign up. The thing is, if you like finish if you complete your user registration, this is a service you can use. That's like we try to increase the conversion rate from the like the acquisition to activation too, right? Another one we did it was basically we made a new. That's actually you guys can do it too right now. So the right one, the interest button, that was before we built this feature. So we thought about what could be the next feature we want to build, right? And then we are not sure this could be good for users or not, right? So we create the video, send it to like a top, like a 5,000 power users, and then get feedback. Do you want to test it or not? What do you think about this product too, right? And then even before we engage engineers resource, because we are just like 4 people, we made this video, send it to like a 5,000 like a power users, and they give us a feedback, and then we got like a quite good feedback. So basically, like instead of like people like chatting, based on the location and the gender other filters, they can also like talk to other people based on the interest too. Right? It's kind of like a Reddit too. So we got like a pretty good feedback, and we decided to build it. And it took us for two months to build like this feature. But the thing is, we wanted to make sure that's if it's gonna work for us spending 2 months of our engineer resource or not, right? So that's you guys can do even like before publishing or creating your product too, right? Because you just can make the video of your product and service, and then you just can publish to them. And then recap of like a go-to-market. So marketing activities are really based on the things you want to achieve, right? And then key questions are where your users are, and second, what type of like contents they like, and what type of app or tools they use, basically, where they are right now. And then any industry influencer you can make a connection with. So if you already know somebody, for example, yoga instructor, that may work to do like influencer marketing for Namaste. Maybe like a gardening, like a similar to even like a Skepsi. Actually, it may work for like everyone for this year's team. And then last one is any distribution channel that you can use to spread your service, right? So you need to think about what type of content is like better, and what type of the channel also like has a better engagement too, right? The contents like a targeting also like a channel too. That's you need to think about. But before that, you need to think about to do like any type of like a campaign. You want to make sure which like a part you are improving, right? That's always you need to think about it. Cool. That's any questions from you guys? This is like a general idea because every company has like a complete like a different type of like marketing strategy and campaign. You guys need to have it. So I'm happy to like give the advice or like a deep dive to each company this week. But thing is, if you have like a fundamental kind of like knowledge about like a go-to-market, that's at least it's good. That's we already that's like actually I wanted to achieve today's session. Anyone has any question? We can take like 1 or 2 questions. Yeah, go ahead. Read them.
Could you go back to the slide of the last R in the R funnel? Yes, I wanted to ask regarding the third last point where you said get their payment info before building a product or completing a product. What do you mean by that?
That's what's the name of like a services? I forgot the name. So basically, like you have a landing page, right? You already have like product concept. The user can see or visitor can see what type of like a product they're gonna use it to, right? And then you add like a payment system, right? And sign up, and then like you can register your payment, and then we're gonna get back to you. Right? We are prioritizing the paid customers first, and then it's not necessary for you to get paid, but thing is more like getting the paid information that gives you much more like the confidence, like a credential for your service too, right? Because people are not just putting their information; people are also happy to give their payment information too, right? That's kind of like next level in order to increase like a revenue side. But the thing is, I don't mean like you should get paid or getting the information for the payment, and then by showing like these like people, that's like we already we talked to like a Chris too, right? That's the Jaffa, right? Hafa or Jaffa for like a payment service. Like they put it like a waiting list too, right? And then they got like 1,000 on like a waiting list too, right? And then but thing is that if you wanted to get paid from the users since day one, you wanted to make sure that you wanted to onboard just like a paid customer as much as possible, right? That's for example, the Superhuman, they did it too. But that's like one thing you can do it too. I think there is a specific jargon. It's called the fake door test or something. I'm gonna send it to you. Basically, creating like a landing page that has just like a concept, and then get like a sign up, even like a get payment information too, right? Because it's always like better for you when you pitch the idea to, for example, investors. Hey, we got like a 10,000 waiting list. Another one is, hey, we already have a 10,000 like potential customers. They give us like a payment information too, right? And then for the investor side, That's great. You already have like users, right? Potential users. But another one is the latter one is that's great. People just give to you like a payment information. That's awesome, right? It means you when you launch a product, basically, literally they're gonna start to pay you, right? Since they're not everyone, I think it's likely, right? It increase the likeliness, because it's like a much more like a personal information, right? Sorry, like Jack, you raise your hands.
And yeah, I actually agree with that. Payments could be like it actually, it's like people putting the money where the mouth is, essentially. With connection to that, I just wanted to ask whether you had any problems worrying about security in the early stages of your startup, because that's something
So
we're thinking
yeah. So that's why my suggestion is not necessarily to get paid, because like getting the like a real money, it's gonna be like actually you need to build the next like a security too, right? So that's why just make sure you have like a payment information. It's not necessary for you to start to do like the transaction part too, right? The thing is to do so right now it's like much easier for you guys to just like use like a Stripe or any of like a payment like the tool too, right? The thing is like my suggestion is not necessarily to get paid, but thing is in order to get paid faster, what can you do today? Right?
Yeah, and in connection to that, also a bit closely related to that, were you worried at all about hackers and in general the security of your application and data?
So your question is, can you
So
say that again?
so while you're building the app or the website, for instance, our app, we will need to store a lot of critical information, right? So were you worried about the kind of databases you were using and the security that they would offer for your clients? And was that something that was in your minds in the beginning?
Yes and no. But the thing is, because why no is the things we built for the like Foxy, right? For example, we didn't handle any of the payment in the end because we worked with only for like enterprise like a potential customers, right? For our case, and then also another one is I discussed with the CTO and he said like the building basically like a payment system or like a strategy like get paid from the people. It's just gonna be like extra like a time, and then we are still like trying to achieve the very very like high retention rate of the users, so which we didn't do it for our case. But thing is for you guys, if your services is targeting to like customers since day one, right? That's actually you need to consider too, right? Because our case is not. It's more like a green book too, right? If you're like building like the network and like a community, it's not necessarily that you're gonna get paid from them like since day one, right? So that was the main priority for us based on like our target audience and product. But thing is like a Stan Davis case could be maybe you're the only person actually because you work with like a hotel like directly too, right? So you need to like think about that part. But the thing is like usually what's gonna happen is even like you reach out to like 100 people, you have like a 10 users like a calls too, right? Sales call, and then I don't think everybody shows like the same depths of the interest because some of them, even like a 1 or 2 or 3 hotels owner, they say, I love it. We wanted to work with you, right? But thing is, the rest of the 7 or 8 people, they may say like, oh, what's this case? What's this case? What's this case? How's the security and stuff do, right? And then even though they show the interest, everybody has like a different type of like the risk tolerance too, right? So that's why you just need to work with people who wanted to become like a power users too, right? Because even though everybody like are facing the same problem, everybody have like a similar like, type of like, volume, similar type of like, business. But the thing is, everybody has different type of like, characteristic too, right? And that's kind of like you need to find the right person that you can work very closely because otherwise you need to like persuade them again. Like you need to go back to the rest of the 7 or 8 like hotels on. Hey, we have improved for you, that we have done for you, we have like this for you. But the thing is like, what's gonna happen? Likely, what's gonna happen is they say, oh, like we are worried about this. How about this case and stuff too, right? It means it's just gonna like suck you like a time and a resource, right? So that's why it's important to just work with like very like close people at the beginning and somebody are willingly to take a risk for you and then trying to kind of work with you closely too, right? Yeah. Everybody always like it's kind of there's the balance. Somebody say, I wanted to do this. Even like if you like building this, somebody actually okay for this, right? In that case, maybe you should like work with these people at the beginning. Because if you try to like achieve like these expectations like this, but it's an extra cost for you guys too, right? So like my suggestion is actually like, better to work with like, somebody who just can work with you like right now. Yeah, that's why it's important to get like a feedback from the your user and the customers as soon as possible. Yeah. Any other question? Cool. It's all good. Right. Yeah, this week like we can talk about it for each team because each team has a different type of like business. So happy to dive into and then discuss what could be your go-to-market strategy too. Right. And if you have a, for example, landing page and stuff too, like just send it to me with a one-liner and the link. I just can like share with my network too, and then that may help for you to get like a more sign up for your users before midterm presentation. Right.
Awesome.
Awesome. Cool. In that case, a stop share. 1 second. Pause here. What's going on? Stop share. Why I cannot stop sharing? You see, you guys can still see my screen, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's still sure.
What's going on? Stop share. All right, cool. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. In that case, yeah, talk to you guys on tomorrow and also on Wednesday or Thursday, right? I think my mouse is dead. All right. In that case, see you guys on